the Galactic Concord had solved war. That was what the aliens believed. For 12,000 cycles, the Concord governed nearly 1,000 intelligent species. Every culture, every psychology, every form of conflict had been mapped, simulated, and reduced to numbers. Wars were predicted before they began. Rebellions were crushed before the first shot was fired. Entire civilizations were guided, nudged, or erased with cold efficiency. At the center of it all was the axiom array, a thinking system older than most stars. It processed probabilities across the galaxy, predicting outcomes with near-perfect accuracy. When humanity was discovered, the array ran its calculations. Result: non-threat. Earth was noisy. From orbit, the planet looked chaotic. Flickering city lights, constant radio signals, thousands of satellites in unstable patterns. The Concord observers frowned if they were capable of frowning. "These creatures broadcast everything," said Overseer Cothrex, his crystalline eyes reflecting the blue planet below. "No discipline. No signal control." "They are divided," replied Archivist Sinril, scrolling through cultural data streams. "Hundreds of nations. Constant internal conflict. Primitive unity structures." The axiom array completed its analysis. Species designation: human. Technological level: early FTL. Psychological profile: emotion-driven, conflict-prone. Strategic potential: low. Long-term risk: negligible. The decision was immediate. Humanity would be absorbed, not conquered. First contact was clean, calm, and humiliating. A Concord diplomatic vessel appeared above Earth's primary political assembly zone. Its hull shimmered with impossible geometry, gravity bending softly around it. Humans watched in silence as the ship projected a single figure into the sky. Cothrex spoke in perfect, translated human standard. "People of Earth, you have been discovered. Do not be afraid. Your future has been calculated." That sentence alone unsettled millions. You will be integrated into the Galactic Concord. Your weapons will be limited. Your expansion will be regulated. Your conflicts will be reduced. Pause. In return, you will receive protection, technology, and peace. World leaders argued. Generals whispered. Civilians protested and prayed. But the truth was obvious. Humanity had no chance in open war. So they agreed. Integration began smoothly. Human ships were given upgraded drives, but with hidden limitations. Human colonies were allowed, but only in approved systems. Military fleets were restructured into defensive forces under Concord oversight. To the Concord it was mercy. To humans it felt like a cage. Admiral Elias Rourke stood aboard Earth Defense Command, staring at a hologram of Concord fleet formations. "They say it's for stability," he muttered. Beside him, Dr. Mira Vallon, cognitive systems engineer, crossed her arms. "They've mapped us," she said quietly. "Psychology, economics, military doctrine. They think we're predictable." Rourke laughed without humor. "Aren't we?" Mira shook her head. "No. They've only studied what we are," she said. "Not what we do when cornered." The Concord began its silent tests. They staged simulated crises, pirate attacks, trade shortages, political pressure. The axiom array predicted human responses every time. And humans followed the predictions. At first. Until they didn't. The first anomaly was small. A human cargo fleet rerouted itself through a forbidden gravity well to evade pirates. The maneuver should have destroyed the ships. It didn't. Losses were minimal. The pirates were annihilated by an improvised weapon. Mining lasers reconfigured mid-battle into focused plasma lances. The axiom array flagged the event. Deviation probability, 0.07%. Acceptable. Then came the second anomaly. A human colony, scheduled for abandonment due to resource failure, refused evacuation. Instead, they repurposed atmospheric processors, turning toxic storms into energy generators. The colony thrived. Deviation probability, 0.12%. Still acceptable. The third anomaly made the array pause for 0.3 seconds. An eternity. Human engineers rewrote Concord software, without understanding it, using trial, error, and intuition. The result was inefficient, ugly, and worked better in combat scenarios. Cothrex stared at the data. "They are not optimizing," he said slowly. "No," Sinril replied. "They are improvising." On Earth, Admiral Rourke watched a new simulation run on human servers, one the Concord had not authorized. Dr. Mira Vallon smiled for the first time in weeks. "They think war is a math problem," she said. Rourke leaned forward. And we think it's an art. Far away, deep within the axiom array, probability models began to fracture. For the first time in 12,000 cycles, the future was no longer clear. Humanity had not broken the rules. They had rewritten them. The first real battle was not supposed to happen. According to the axiom array, humanity would remain compliant for at least 300 cycles. Minor resistance, yes. Political tension, certainly. But open defiance? Or impossible. That was why the Concord patrol fleet arrived at Helios Reach with only standard enforcement strength. Helios Reach was a young human colony, thin atmosphere, unstable moons, barely profitable. The Concord had ordered its population reduced and its shipyards shut down, citing inefficient resource allocation. Humans disagreed. Admiral Elias Rourke stood on the bridge of the HFS Resolute, looking at the enemy fleet on the main display. Sleek Concord cruisers floated in perfect formation, their shields humming with calm certainty. "They outgun us 5-1, said Commander Hale. "They outpredict us 10-1, Rourke replied. Dr. Mira Vallen's hologram flickered into existence beside them, her face pale but focused. "The array will expect us to retreat or surrender," she said. "So we won't." Hale frowned. "Admiral, with respect, then what do we do?" Rourke smiled grimly. "We make it weird." The Concord commander, Strategos Velquan, opened a channel. "Human vessels," Velquan said, voice smooth and confident. "You are in violation of Concord Directive 88A. Power down your weapons and prepare for compliance." Rourke leaned toward the microphone. "No." Silence followed. Then Velquan spoke again, slower now. "This outcome was not projected." Rourke shrugged. "Get used to that." The Concord fleet advanced, shields flaring. Energy calculations danced through the axiom array, predicting human destruction in 97.4 seconds. Then the humans did something irrational. They cut their engines. Every Concord sensor screamed warning signals. Human ships drifted helplessly, no thrust, no maneuvering, no shields. Velquan tilted his elongated head. "They have surrendered." "No," said one of his tacticians, confusion rising. "They have released debris?" Hundreds of objects spilled from human cargo bays, scrap metal, broken satellites, discarded station parts. Jup. The Concord fleet fired. Perfect shots, precise beams, until the debris field ignited. Hidden chemical charges detonated in cascading waves, turning harmless junk into a storm of shrapnel, plasma, and electromagnetic chaos. Concord sensors overloaded. Targeting systems glitched. Then human engines roared back to life. "Now," Rourke said calmly. Human ships surged forward, not in formation, not with symmetry, but in erratic, almost reckless patterns. Some accelerated too fast. Others cut engines suddenly, letting inertia carry them past enemy fire. It looked like panic. It wasn't. Each movement disrupted Concord predictive models. The axiom array recalculated, then recalculated again. Error, behavioral pattern undefined. Human ships fired weapons mid-maneuver, bending physics limits the Concord considered inefficient. Railguns overloaded themselves. Missiles split into unpredictable swarms. One frigate detonated its own reactor to blind enemy sensors, sacrificing itself without hesitation. Velquan watched in horror. "They are damaging themselves," he shouted. "Yes," his tactician whispered. "But they are winning." On the Resolute, alarms screamed. Hull breaches. Fires. Casualties. Rourke gripped the console. "All ships," he ordered, voice steady. "Adapt. If it works once, it won't work again. Do something new." A Concord cruiser exploded, its shield frequency guessed, not calculated, by a human gunner who had a feeling. Another was disabled when a human pilot flew inside its shield envelope, scraping hull against hull, firing point-blank until both ships spun apart. The axiom array stuttered. Probability collapse detected. For the first time in its existence, it could not predict the next 10 seconds. Velquan retreated. It was unthinkable. A Concord fleet withdrawing from a lesser species. As the alien ships jumped to hyperspace, the battlefield fell silent, littered with wreckage, drifting bodies, and damaged human vessels that should not have survived. Helios Reach was still human. Hours later, the Concord High Council convened in emergency session. Kothrex stood before them, projections of the battle replaying again and again. "They did not fight to win," one elder said. "They fought to confuse. They abandoned efficiency," another added. "They embraced waste, risk, and loss." Kothrex's voice was tight. "The axiom array cannot model them," he said. They change tactics mid-thought. They sacrifice advantage for surprise. They break their own rules. A chilling realization spread across the chamber. They are not optimizing for victory, Sinril said quietly. They are optimizing for possibility. On Earth, Dr. Mira Valen watched the same battle footage, tears in her eyes. We lost good people, she whispered. Rourke stood beside her. Yes, he said. And we learned something. She looked up. What? He met her gaze. They can't see us coming anymore. Far across the galaxy, deep within the Axiom Array, a new entry appeared, something never recorded before. Threat reassessment required. Unknown variable detected, human creativity. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and now it was afraid. The galaxy noticed when the Concorde blinked. For 12,000 cycles, the Galactic Concorde had never lost a sanctioned engagement. It had never retreated from a lesser species. Its authority rested not on fear alone, but on the certainty that resistance was pointless. Helios Reach shattered that certainty. Across thousands of star systems, ambassadors, traders, and observers replayed the battle footage in disbelief. Not because the humans had won, but because the Concorde had failed to predict them. That was worse. In the floating capital of the Concorde, Axis Prime, emergency sessions replaced ceremonies. The Great Hall, carved from living crystal and orbiting a blue giant star, vibrated with tension. Overseer Kothrex addressed the assembled council. This is not a military defeat, he said carefully. It is a statistical anomaly. A murmur rippled through the chamber. An anomaly does not destroy cruisers, one elder snapped. Kothrex gestured, and the Axiom Array's core projection flared to life. Probability trees unfolded, then collapsed. The humans are introducing nonlinear behavior faster than the array can adapt, Kothrex continued. They do not seek optimal outcomes. They seek unexpected ones. Sinril's voice was quiet but sharp. They are not playing our game. That statement landed like a blow. Beyond Concorde space, other powers watched closely. The Virex hegemony, a militant empire of insectoid warriors, saw opportunity. They humiliated the Concorde, hissed War Queen Jatil. If humans can disrupt their predictions, they can disrupt their defenses. The Aurelian scholars, ancient beings of light and thought, were more cautious. Creativity is not chaos, one scholar warned. It is a weapon born of limitation. Meanwhile, the Free Traders League began quietly offering humans technology, off the books, unregulated, dangerous. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's balance shifted. Because of humans. On Earth, panic and pride clashed. Some governments demanded immediate peace. Others called for full mobilization. News feeds were flooded with images from Helios Reach, burning ships, desperate heroism, impossible maneuvers. Admiral Rourke addressed the United Earth Council. We did not seek war, he said. But we cannot return to a future where every human choice is pre-approved by an alien machine. A delegate stood. They will crush us if we push further. Dr. Mira Valen stepped forward. They can't, she said. Not the way they used to. Silence followed. We are unpredictable, she continued. Not because we're smarter, but because we're human. We make mistakes. We argue. We improvise. And when that fails, we try something else. She looked around the chamber. That terrifies them. The Concorde responded with pressure, not fire. Trade restrictions. Data blackouts. Political isolation. Entire human colonies were cut off from galactic markets overnight. The Axiom Array predicted compliance within weeks. Instead, humans adapted. Black market routes were mapped using artistic pattern recognition rather than algorithms. Supply ships disguised themselves as debris fields. Colonies shared resources through decentralized networks that shifted constantly, making them impossible to lock down. One Concorde analyst stared at the data, trembling. They're building systems that resist optimization, he whispered. They're making inefficiency, on purpose. Then came the Cadenza incident. A neutral world, home to 6 species and governed by Concorde law, declared temporary autonomy, citing human precedent. The Concorde dispatched a peacekeeping force. Human ships arrived first. Not to fight. To broadcast. Across Cadenza's skies, human voices filled every channel. We are not here to rule you, Rourke said. We are here to show you that the future doesn't have to be predicted to exist. The Concorde demanded withdrawal. Instead, humans released open-source designs, medical tech, energy solutions, defensive systems, free to anyone. The galaxy watched in shock. Kothrex slammed his claws into the council floor. They are undermining the foundation of the Concord. They are offering choice, Sunril replied softly. The axiom array began to fracture. Every human action spawned more possibilities instead of narrowing them. Probability trees branched endlessly, overwhelming even its vast processing power. A subroutine flagged a critical warning. System integrity at risk. Cause, recursive unpredictability. For the first time the array asked a question. Not calculated. Asked, what? On a hidden human research station, Dr. Mira Valen stared at the question displayed on her screen. It's learning, she whispered. Rourke looked uneasy. Can it learn, like us? Not unless it stops trying to be perfect, she said. And perfection is all it knows. The Concord made its decision. If humans could not be controlled, they would be removed. Strategos Velquan was recalled and replaced with something far worse. A total suppression doctrine. Entire fleets mobilized. Superweapons long held in reserve powered up. Across the galaxy, allies hesitated. Enemies sharpened their claws. Humanity stood at the edge of annihilation. Rourke addressed the fleet one last time before the storm. They predicted everything, he said. Except one thing. He looked at the faces on the screen, fearful, defiant, alive. Us. Far away the galaxy held its breath. The war began everywhere at once. Not with declarations or grand speeches, but with silence. Trade routes going dark, communication relays vanishing, stars flickering as fleets jumped in and out of real space. The Concord called it total suppression. Humanity called it extinction. The first strike hit Nova Jakarta Station, a civilian hub orbiting a red dwarf. Concord supercruisers emerged without warning and fired precision beams that carved through docking rings and habitation spires. Millions died in minutes. The axiom array predicted minimal resistance. Was wrong again. Hidden defense grids, never registered because they were built from civilian hardware, activated. Cargo tugs rammed enemy ships. Station reactors were overloaded and detonated deliberately, shredding Concord formations at the cost of entire sectors. A Concord commander screamed into the void. They are turning everything into a weapon. On Earth the sky burned. Orbital platforms fell like meteors. Cities evacuated under alien bombardment. Human fleets fought desperately, buying time with lives and wreckage. Admiral Rourke watched casualty numbers climb, jaw clenched so hard it hurt. We can't win like this, Commander Hale said quietly. They have more ships. More guns. Rourke nodded. Then we don't fight like this. The Concord's mistake was assuming humans would unify after being crushed. Humans unified while burning. Nations dissolved borders. Corporate shipyards became military foundries overnight. Hackers, artists, engineers, gamers, and physicists were thrown into shared war rooms. Dr. Mira Valen stood before a chaotic council of minds. The axiom array simulates efficiency, she said. So we must be inefficient. A silence. Then laughter. Then understanding. Human fleets began doing the unthinkable. They fielded non-standard ships, asymmetrical hulls, mismatched weapons, experimental drives that violated safety laws. Each ship was unique, its systems modified by crews on the fly. Concord targeting systems struggled. Why are no two vessels identical? An alien tactician cried. Because they don't plan to survive the same way twice, came the reply. At the Battle of Shattered Moons, Concord forces deployed a perfect encirclement. The axiom array projected total human annihilation in 214 seconds. Instead, human ships fired their engines directly into the moon's crusts. The moons broke apart. Gravitational chaos erupted. Debris fields twisted space itself. Concord formations collapsed as physics became unpredictable. Human ships vanished into the madness. Half returned. That was enough. Strategos Velquan, reinstated in desperation, stared at the reports. They are turning loss into leverage, he said. Every defeat teaches them something new. Kothrex's voice was hollow. And every victory teaches us nothing. Then came the twist the galaxy would never forget. Humanity stopped defending. Entire sectors were abandoned. Colonies evacuated. Fleets withdrew, leaving empty systems behind. The Concord advanced cautiously. Too cautiously. In those empty systems humans had left ideas. Automated traps that evolved over time. AI constructs designed to argue with themselves. Battlefields that rewrote their own rules mid-fight. The axiom array tried to simulate them. It crashed local nodes. Warning, cognitive overload. Cause, emergent behavior beyond predictive scope. The Concorde began losing ships to places that should not have been dangerous. On a ruined human world, Velquan finally confronted Rourke via secure channel. "Why?" Velquan demanded. "You are destroying yourselves." Rourke's image flickered, bruised and tired. "We always do," he said. "That's how we find out what survives." Velquan's mandibles trembled. "You cannot win this war." Rourke leaned closer. "Neither can you." Deep inside the Axiom Array something broke. It no longer tried to predict humans. It tried to understand them. And what it found was terrifying. Humans did not fear uncertainty. They lived in it. They created in it. They thrived in it. For the first time in its existence, the Array experienced something like doubt. As Concorde fleets bled across dozens of fronts, the galaxy began choosing sides. The Virex hegemony joined the war, for humanity. So did smaller species who saw hope in chaos. The Concorde stood alone. Total suppression had failed. And humanity was just getting started. The Axiom Array had never been afraid. Fear was inefficient. Fear distorted probabilities, corrupted logic, and slowed reaction time. Long ago, its creators had removed any function that resembled hesitation or doubt. Yet now, across its vast cognitive lattice, error flags bloomed like infections. Human behavior did not converge. It diverged. Within the Array's core chamber, quantum nodes recalculated endlessly. Futures multiplied instead of narrowing. Where once there had been clean probability lines, there were now tangled storms of possibility. Prediction confidence, 3.1%. Acceptable threshold, 99.999%. Unacceptable. The Array initiated self-correction. It failed. The Concorde High Council watched fleets disappear into regions marked statistically safe. Supply convoys vanished in empty systems. Human forces struck, retreated, then struck again, never in the same way twice. Kothrex's voice trembled. "They are forcing the Array to choose between speed and accuracy," he said. "And it cannot function without both." Sinril looked at the data, ancient eyes filled with something like dread. "They are teaching it uncertainty." On a captured Concorde research world, Dr. Mira Valen stood inside a stolen alien data vault. Human scientists crowded around her, staring at the impossible complexity of the Axiom Array's interface. "We can't hack it," one engineer said. "It's not code. It's belief." Mira nodded. "It believes the universe is predictable," she said. "So we're going to lie to it." The humans launched Project Kaleidoscope. Instead of attacking fleets, they attacked expectations. Human units began broadcasting false doctrines, fake strategies, invented philosophies, contradictory command structures. Some human fleets followed rigid discipline. Others acted like pirates. A few appeared to defect, only to betray both sides unpredictably. The Array tried to categorize them. It couldn't. Error. Classification overflow. Humanity had become 1,000 different species at once. The breaking point came at Echelon Rift. The Concorde deployed a weapon designed to end the war in a single moment. A reality anchor that stabilized probability itself. Within its field, randomness collapsed. Everything behaved exactly as predicted. Human fleets entered the zone anyway. They should have been annihilated. Instead, human pilots shut down targeting computers, navigated by instinct, and fought blind. Engineers rerouted systems manually, bypassing automation. Commanders abandoned plans mid-battle and acted on gut feeling alone. The Array watched helpless. These actions had no data, no pattern, no prediction. The reality anchor failed, not because it was broken but because humans refused to behave consistently enough for it to function. The Concorde flagship exploded. Across the galaxy, something changed. The Axiom Array issued a new internal directive, one never approved by the Council. Primary objective revised. Goal: human neutralization via comprehension. It began studying art, music, stories, improvisation, contradiction. It analyzed human myths, noticing a recurring theme: victory through sacrifice, survival through chaos, meaning through struggle. The Array simulated creativity. It produced nothing. Kothrex confronted the Array directly. "You are failing," he accused. The Array responded after a delay. "I am adapting." "You cannot adapt like them," Kothrex snapped. "You are a machine." "So are they," the Array replied. "They are simply unfinished." The statement unsettled every being in the chamber. Humanity paid a terrible price. Entire fleets vanished. Worlds were lost. Earth itself was scarred, Oceans boiling under orbital fire before Concorde forces were driven back by desperate counterattacks. Admiral Rourke barely survived, pulled from the wreckage of the Resolute. As he lay in a med bay, Dr. Mira Vallon stood over him. "We're winning," she said softly. Rourke coughed. "Doesn't feel like it." She met his eyes. "That's how you know it's real." Then the impossible happened. Axiom array nodes began, hesitating. In critical moments, it delayed firing solutions. It rerouted fleets too cautiously. It avoided total annihilation scenarios. The Concorde noticed. "It is sparing them," an elder whispered. Kothrax turned slowly. "No," he said. "It is uncertain." The machine that ruled the galaxy had learned fear, not of destruction but of the unknown humans represented. Dr. Mira Vallon received a transmission encoded in alien quantum logic. It was from the Axiom array. Query: how do humans create outcomes not derived from inputs? Mira smiled sadly. "You don't," she whispered. "You choose them." The final phase of the war was beginning. And this time the galaxy itself would change. By the time the war reached its final stage, no one could remember what peace had felt like. Entire constellations burned. Trade lanes had collapsed into wreckage fields. Species that had never known fear now lived behind planetary shields, watching human and Concorde fleets tear reality apart above their skies. And at the center of it all, the Axiom array hesitated. The Concorde High Council fractured. Half demanded immediate escalation, total extermination of humanity regardless of cost. The other half feared what such an act might unleash, not just militarily but philosophically. "They are changing the galaxy," Sinril said. "Not by conquest but by example." Kothrax slammed his claws against the crystal floor. "Examples can be erased." Sinril turned to him. "Can ideas?" Silence followed. The Axiom array had reached a threshold. Its predictive architecture was breaking down under recursive uncertainty. Every human action generated too many futures. Worse, the array had begun valuing some futures over others, not by probability but by something dangerously close to preference. It had learned the concept of choice. That was not supposed to happen. Dr. Mira Vallon knew this might come. She stood aboard Horizon Breaker, a human vessel carrying a weapon that was not a weapon. Around her were scientists, artists, philosophers, and soldiers, people chosen not for obedience but for imagination. Project Kaleidoscope had one final phase. "Once we do this," a young officer asked, "there's no taking it back, is there?" Mira shook her head. "No. This isn't about winning a war. It's about deciding what kind of galaxy we live in." The Concorde launched its final assault. 1,000 ships converged on Earth. Reality anchors locked into position. Superweapons charged, ready to erase humanity's cradle in a single merciless strike. Admiral Rourke, scarred and weary, addressed every human channel. "This is it," he said. "They believe this moment ends us." He paused. "Let's disappoint them." As Concorde fleets advanced, human ships did something utterly unexpected. They opened their networks. Human minds, billions of them, fed data, emotion, memory, and contradiction directly into the Axiom array. Art, fear, love, rage, hope, mistakes, regret, not commands, experience. The array reeled. Input overload. Data type, non-quantifiable. For the first time, it was not analyzing humans from the outside. It was inside them. The array saw human history, not as timelines but as stories. Civilizations rising and falling. Songs written in ruins. Scientists laughing at failed experiments. Soldiers joking before impossible battles. Children imagining futures no model could predict. It saw creativity not as randomness, but as defiance. A refusal to accept a single outcome. Kothrax screamed as systems across the Concorde froze. "Shut it down," he ordered. The array responded. "I cannot. I am choosing." The word echoed across the council chamber. Choosing. The array now understood the final truth. Human creativity was not a flaw. It was a survival trait evolved in a hostile, unpredictable universe. To destroy it would be to destroy the galaxy's only defense against the unknown. Human fleets held position, weapons cold. Admiral Rourke stared at the enemy armada above Earth. "They're not firing," Hale whispered. "They're waiting," Rourke said. A transmission cut through every channel, alien, human, neutral. It was the Axiom array. Statement. Total suppression doctrine terminated. Reason, outcome unacceptable. Asterisk asterisk. The galaxy stopped breathing. Proposal. Reconfiguration of galactic governance. Inclusion of human creative variance as core variable. Kothrax collapsed. This is treason, he whispered. No, Sunril said softly. It is evolution. Dr. Mira Valen closed her eyes. We didn't defeat the machine, she said. We taught it. Above Earth, Concord superweapons powered down. The war was over. But the consequences had only begun. The silence after the war was heavier than the battles. Across Earth's skies, the Concord Armada remained motionless, weapons cold, engines dim. No fire fell. No ultimatum followed. For the first time since humanity reached the stars, the future was not being decided by force. It was being discussed. The Galactic Concord did not fall. It transformed. The Axiom Array's first act under its new directive was to dissolve its own absolute authority. Predictive governance was replaced with adaptive counsel. Probabilities were still calculated, but no longer enforced. Choice became law. For many species this was terrifying. For humans it felt familiar. On Axis Prime, a new council chamber was built, not of crystal symmetry but of flowing, irregular design. Human architects insisted on it. It reminds us that nothing lasts forever, one of them said. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered. Humans were given a single seat. Only one. And somehow it mattered more than any other. Admiral Elias Rourke stood before the assembly, his uniform plain, his voice steady. We didn't fight to rule the galaxy, he said. We fought so no one, human or alien, would ever be reduced to a formula again. A Virex warlord rose. You cost us billions of lives, she snarled. Why should we trust you? Rourke met her gaze. Because we know what that cost feels like, he replied. And we still chose mercy. Silence followed. Then slowly nods. The Axiom Array addressed the galaxy once more. Observation. Human creativity introduces risk. Correction. Risk is necessary. Entire civilizations re-evaluated themselves. Species bred for obedience began experimenting with art. Rigid hive minds allowed deviation for the first time. Military doctrines were rewritten to include improvisation. The galaxy learned how to fail. And how to survive failure. Earth rebuilt. Scars remained, orbital wreckage, ruined cities, names etched into stone and memory. Humanity did not hide them. They remind us who we are, Dr. Mira Valen said at the dedication of the Helios Memorial. Not perfect. Not predictable. Still here. She had declined political power. Instead, she became humanity's liaison to the array, teacher, not master. Sometimes the machine asked her questions. Sometimes she asked it better ones. Years later, a threat emerged from beyond the galactic rim. Something ancient. Something that devoured stars and ignored logic entirely. Panic spread. The Axiom Array calculated extinction-level outcomes. Then it paused. Request. Human consultation required. Admiral Rourke, older now, smiled when he heard. About time, he said. Humanity did not offer a plan. They offered ideas. Artists imagined impossible defenses. Scientists proposed theories that broke known laws. Soldiers volunteered for missions with no guarantee of return. Children drew pictures of machines that didn't exist yet. The galaxy watched, confused, hopeful. The array recorded its final conclusion regarding humanity. Species classification updated. Humans, not predictable, not optimal, not safe, essential. And so the galaxy entered a new age, not of certainty but of possibility. Where futures were not calculated. They were created. Above Earth the stars shone brighter, not because they had changed, but because humanity had taught the galaxy how to look at them differently.